Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. And oh boy, do we have a fascinating one for you today.
I know, I'm excited.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about something that sounds like it's straight out of science fiction.
It really does.
The world of biohybrid robots. So we're talking robots with actual living tissues integrated into their design.
Like a cyborg, but even wilder.
Exactly. Yeah, and the sources you send over research papers, news articles, experiments, it's mind-blowing.
It really highlights how this field is just exploding right now.
Yeah, it's incredible. So maybe you can help me and the listeners out a bit here. What exactly is biohybrid technology?
Well, we typically think of robots as all metal and wires, very mechanical, but biohybrid technology is really challenging that definition.
Okay, I'm listening.
It's about incorporating living organisms into robots, so we're kind of blurring the line between the artificial and the natural world.
So we're not just building machines anymore, kind of merging them with life itself.
Precisely. And it's not just about being cool or futuristic, though there's a real practical reason for doing this.
Okay, so what is the big advantage of using living tissue in robots then?
Well, one of the biggest challenges in robotics has always been replicating the complexity of nature.
I can imagine. I mean, look at something like your hand.
Exactly. The way it moves, adapts, interacts, it's so intricate.
And you can't forget about things like plants, too.
Oh, absolutely. A simple leaf is a marvel of engineering.
But we haven't been able to fully recreate that level of sophistication with just synthetic materials, have we?
Not even close. Nature has had millions of years to perfect these systems.
So why not just borrow them, right?
Exactly. Learn from nature, integrate those systems directly into our tech. That's the whole idea.
It's like we're finally realizing that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Nature's already done it for us.
That's a great way to put it.
So tell me more. What are some examples of how scientists are actually doing this? Are we really talking about robots with, like, leaves and muscles?
Well, there's some really groundbreaking work happening. For instance, there's this engineer at Cornell University, Anand Mishra, and he's working with fungal mycelia.
Hold on, fungal mycelia for those of us who don't speak science.
Right, those root-like networks of fungi, you often see them spreading underground.
Okay, I've seen those, yeah.
So Mishra is actually using mycelia to give robots a sense of touch and even the ability to see.
What, robots with fungus eyes? Now, that's something I have to hear more about. How does that even work?
It's amazing, right? So mycelia are super sensitive to their environment. They can detect changes in light, temperature, even chemicals.
So they're kind of like natural sensors.
Exactly. And what's really cool is that they generate tiny electrical signals when they're stimulated.
Like our nerves do.
Precisely. So the mycelia are basically acting like the robot's sensory system, sending signals back to its control system.
So the robot's brain can interpret what the fungi are sensing.
It's like giving the robot a whole new way to perceive the world.
Incredible. One of the sources you sent even mentioned an experiment where they shined UV light on the mycelia.
Oh, yeah. And it actually changed the robot's movements.
Almost like the robot had a reflex or something.
Exactly. That experiment showed just how responsive and adaptable these biohybrid systems can be.
It's like the robot is almost alive.
In a way, it is. It's this fascinating blend of living and non-living components working together.
Okay, but I have to ask, what's the practical use of a robot with fungus eyes? What can we actually do with that?
Oh, the potential is huge. Imagine using these shroom bots in agriculture.
Okay, so we're talking robots that could help farmers.
Exactly. They could navigate fields using their fungal sensors to detect subtle changes in the soil.
Like if the soil's too dry or if there are pests.
Exactly. They could even pick up on the early signs of plant diseases.
Wow, so these robots could help farmers monitor their crops way more effectively than we do now.
And potentially even increase yields, making agriculture more efficient and productive.
That's amazing. So we're not just talking about robots that look cool.
Yeah.
This could actually have a real impact.
Absolutely. This is just one example. We're really just scratching the surface of what biohybrid robots can do.
This is blowing my mind. We've got to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll dive even deeper into the amazing world of biohybrid robots, so don't go anywhere. All right, so we've seen how fungi can give robots these incredible senses, but what about the robots themselves? Can we make them tougher, more resilient? That's a great point. I mean, if we're talking about robots working out in the fields, monitoring crops, they need to be able to handle the elements.
Exactly. And one of the sources you shared talked about how plants themselves could hold the key, right?
Absolutely. There's this material scientist, Fabian Mitter, at the Santa Ana School of Advanced Studies, and he's looking at how we can harness the durability of plants for robots.
Okay, that's interesting because plants can be incredibly resilient.
Oh, for sure. They can self-repair, adapt to all sorts of environments.
I mean, think about trees. Some of them live for hundreds, even thousands of years.
Exactly. They've evolved to withstand all sorts of stresses, things that would destroy our electronics in a heartbeat.
So how do we translate that kind of resilience into a robot? Well, Mater and his team are working on some really fascinating projects. One of them involves creating artificial leaves that can actually generate electricity.
Wait a minute. You're saying electric leaves. Is that even possible?
It sounds crazy, but it's based on a natural phenomenon. You know how rubbing a balloon on your hair creates static electricity?
Yeah. I remember doing that as a kid.
So Mater's team found a way to harness a similar effect, but using wind.
Okay. So how do the leaves come into play?
They've designed these artificial leaves with special materials that generate static electricity when wind flows over them.
I see. And then what?
These leaves are placed on real plants, and the static charge actually transfers to the plant's tissues, creating a small electrical current.
So we're basically turning the plant into a living battery.
That's the idea. In their experiments, they were able to power small LEDs with this plant-generated electricity.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So what's the long-term goal here? Are we going to be seeing robots powered entirely by plants?
Well, that's the dream. Eventually, the idea is to use this energy to power sensors or maybe even the robot's movements.
Wow, that's so cool. And not to mention sustainable. We wouldn't have to rely so much on traditional batteries.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
all about finding ways to tap into nature's energy systems.
This is amazing. All right, so we've got robots with fungal senses, robots powered by plants. It all sounds incredible. But I have to ask, what are the challenges here? I mean, working with these living materials can't be easy.
You're absolutely right. It's not as simple as just plugging in a circuit board.
So what are some of the hurdles that scientists are facing?
One of the biggest ones is keeping those living components alive. I mean, plants need sunlight, and water fungi need nutrients.
So it's not just about building the robot. It's like having a little garden inside the robot that you have to take care of.
Exactly. Engineers are coming up with some really creative solutions, though.
Like what?
Well, they're exploring transparent materials so light can reach the plants, and they're developing systems to deliver water and nutrients in a very controlled way.
It's a whole new way of thinking about robot design.
For sure, it's a fusion of biology and engineering.
So we've talked about fungal sensors, plant power. Are there any other crazy ideas out there, other potential uses for biohybrid robots?
Oh, tons of them. This field is exploding with possibilities.
Give me some examples. I'm ready to be amazed.
Okay, well, imagine robots that can clean up pollutants using microorganisms to break down harmful substances.
That would be incredible, especially for things like oil spills.
Exactly. Or picture biohybrid robots assisting in search and rescue missions.
I could see that, I mean, they could use those plant-based components to squeeze through tight spaces or adapt to different terrains.
Right. And what about robots for artistic expression?
Oh, yeah, I read about that in one of the articles, a living sculpture that responds to its environment or even interacts with people.
It would definitely blur the lines between art and science.
Okay, so those are some pretty wild applications. What stands out to you the most about this whole field of biohybrid robots?
Oh, there's so much that's exciting. It's hard to pick just one thing.
I get it. It's all pretty mind-blowing.
But I think what really gets me is just how creative this whole field is. You know, combining engineering with living organisms, it's like we're finally realizing the potential.
It's like we're learning to work with nature instead of trying to overpower it.
Exactly. And I think that's a really important shift.
Okay, so let's bring this back to our listeners for a moment. If you could design your own biohybrid robot, what would you create? What problem would you solve?
That's a tough one. There's so many possibilities.
I know, right? It's like our imaginations are the only limit.
Well, if I had to pick something, I think it'd be amazing to see a biohybrid robot that could clean up oil spills.
That's a great idea, using nature to help heal the environment.
Right, maybe using microorganisms to break down the oil and restore the ecosystem.
So we've got robots with fungal senses, robots powered by plants. What other natural abilities could we borrow?
Oh, wow. So many. I mean, think about animals that can heal themselves.
Like a lizard regrowing its tail.
Exactly. What if we could build robots that could repair themselves like that?
Or what about camouflage? Like an octopus blending into the seafloor.
Or a chameleon changing colors.
Wow, imagine a search and rescue robot that could change its shape to squeeze through tight spaces.
Or a medical robot that could repair damaged tissues using the same principles of regeneration.
It's incredible to think about all the possibilities.
It really is. We're at the very beginning of this journey. Who knows what the future holds?
Well, that was a truly amazing deep dive into the world of biohybrid robots. Thanks for joining us on this exploration of cutting-edge science and technology. And remember, keep those imaginations running wild. Who knows, your biohybrid robot idea might just change the world someday.